Hello guys, my name is Heiðmar from Iceland. I ended up in the 5th place worldwide in FPL last season, so I'm here today to talk a little bit about that. I'm gonna pick one favorite moment of the season and one mistake I've done for the last season. I've actually been playing this game for 10 years now, and the first 6 seasons I ended up in 1 million plus. And the last 4 seasons I've been in top 100k. And last season I ended up in the 5th place. So I'm gonna see if I can get any higher this season. Okay, I'm just gonna go straight to the favorite point of my last season, which was actually in the beginning of the season. I'm gonna share the screen with you here. As you can see, my first game week didn't go so well. I got 39 points, ended up in position 4 million. So it was very bad game week, the first game week for me. But in the second game week, I got 128 points. And as you can see, I used the same team, the same captain, and everything the same. I didn't do any transfer, or I just trusted the team that I chose for the beginning of the season. So I'm gonna talk about what I learned at this point was, I mean, I could have used my wildcard after just one game week. I've seen many managers do it, but I strongly recommend to just be patient. Trust this team that you chose for the beginning of the season and just see how it goes for 3 or 4 game weeks. Maybe you have to use the wildcard in after 5-6 game weeks, and that's okay. But I strongly recommend to just hold on to it. If you will have to need it for later on, and other chips as well. Throughout the season, there are gonna be some double game weeks that you have to use your chips, or I think you should use them at that point. So I recommend to just trust your squad for the beginning, see how it goes, make some few changes, but don't rush into using your chips or anything like that. So that's my favorite point of the season, and actually got me to position 40k, so that helped me throughout the season. My least favorite point of the season, or my mistake of the season, was that I never played Dominic Calvert-Lewin this season, but I owned him at one point throughout the middle of the season. I actually bought him straight after one game week. I think it was around game week 25 or something. I bought him right after the game week because he was gonna go higher in price the day after. So I just bought him. Then I saw Everton was playing a cup match the same week, and I just, it's not good. But yeah, I trust it because I mean, Calvert-Lewin hasn't been injured for a long time, but in that match he got injured, so I had to sell him right away, and I used 2 transfers for then one player. I think I bought Danny Ings instead for a couple of game weeks. So I recommend to wait with your transfer if the teams have, especially if the teams have cup match that week, the same week. It's better to wait with the transfers till after that, because players can always get injured, as we know. All right. So that was my mistake of the season, and there was a few other mistakes. It actually surprised me a lot that ended up so high. I thought you had to do absolutely everything right and make no mistakes, but believe me, you can make a few. I would like to talk then a little bit about this time. I mean, there is 6 days till the season, and what I think, what I'm thinking now. I am looking at the preseason. I'm looking at the matches that are been playing now, and I think every team has played 3 or 4, maybe 5 games in the preseason right now. So I like to just see how the manager are setting up their team, because of course in the preseason managers are trying to play every player and give the youth players some chance and everything, but you can always see some player are gonna be outstanding maybe and score 5 goals in 4 games or something, and then you can see, okay, this player has just costs 4.5 million, and of course he's gonna have chance in the beginning of the season in the first games, so maybe I should buy him. I actually bought Wilfred Zaha, as you could see in my first game week. I bought him after I saw he scored 4 goals in 4 matches, I think, in the preseason for the last season. I started to look at him and decided to buy him, and my friends actually laughed at me. But he ended up being one of the best players in the first 7 game weeks of last season. So that's very good for me to have him, and actually he was pretty much a differential last season as well. All right, then I would like to share some tip. Maybe the most important thing that I did last season was that I used my money on the bench. I put some money on the bench. I would recommend it now because of the situation. You never know, like now when the coronavirus is still over us here, you never know if the matches are gonna be postponed. So I strongly recommend to have players on the bench who plays for sure, and maybe some good players, I mean, who can get some points for you. I recommend to have these players on the bench. Don't use 83 million on the squad. I don't do it. To use 83.5 millions on your 11 players, then you just have 4 millions for a defender, 4.5 for midfielder, 4.5 for forward, and you can't get any players for that. You are lucky if you can get players who play parts of the time for that money, but I recommend to have playing players on the bench, because you never know if some matches get postponed. Then it's better to have it. Like last season, when Manchester United and Liverpool game got postponed in the middle of the game week, I saw many players just got, or many managers just got 8 players on their who actually played, because the bench was pretty much dry. I got 11 players that played. There were 3 players in Liverpool and Manchester that I had, so I actually got every player on the bench playing, and that filled in. So I strongly recommend that. Maybe I go through, in the end of this video, I go through my bench and through my goalkeeper position. I would like it. I would actually, other tip, you have to play by the feelings and play your heart, of course, but when you choose, try not to choose by your favorite team. I mean, my father-in-law was starting to play this game now, and he is a Newcastle fan. When I saw him pick his team, he picked 3 Newcastle players, and I was just like, oof, you know. So I recommend to try to avoid picking players after your favorite team. It's always fun to have one player from your team, but yeah, actually you won't get many points maybe from it. So yeah, tip number 4, don't lose faith in the beginning of the season. Like I said before, just be patient and be aware of rotating teams. Manchester City and Chelsea are the highest risk, I think, for that. You have to be sure about the players who are gonna play. You want to have players who play. That's my rule number 1. Have players who play. I mean, last season when Manchester City did win the title, I think there were 7 or 8 game weeks left. No, 6 or don't remember, 6 or 7. Then I just got rid of every Manchester City player. I just think I had one Gundogan then, but I just got rid of him because I knew that Pep was gonna rotate and use the best players in other leagues. They were in, I think, 4 competitions. So I recommend to look at that as well. All right, then I'm gonna go through my team as it looks now. In the end of this video, I'm gonna go through the goalkeeper position. I would like that. I like I said before, have playing players on the bench. So I spent 9.5 million in goalkeepers. That's, I mean, if you spend 5.5 million in your main goalkeeper and 4 million in a goalkeeper who doesn't play, then you have 9.5. I think 9.5 is just a very good. I don't recommend to use a small amount of money in the goalkeepers, just because then you have one goalkeeper playing and one who's not playing, and then maybe the game gets postponed, and then you get into trouble. So my first choice of goalkeeper is Kasper Schmeichel, the Leicester goalkeeper. If you look at the last 3 seasons for him, he played every single match. Brendan Rodgers is not rotating goalkeepers. I think he would not do that even if Leicester had won the title. Like last season when Manchester City had won the title, then Ederson got rotated. That's pretty, yeah, no one would expect it. So Schmeichel has played every match the last 3 seasons. He is one of the top goalkeepers of the league, I think. He got over 120 points for the last 4 seasons in FPL. Leicester also has very good fixtures for the first 16 fixtures. I think there are 3 fixtures in the first 16 that I don't want to play him, and that's against Chelsea, Manchester United and Manchester City in game week 4, 8 and 12. All right. The other goalkeeper I have is Robert Sanchez. He's very cheap and is very good goalkeeper. I think Brighton has good defense and they can keep some clean sheets, so he will be on the bench for me. Why will he be on the bench? It's why in game week 4, when I don't want to play Schmeichel, the Brighton team are playing Brentford. In the 8th game week number 8, they are playing Norwich, and in game week number 12 they are playing Aston Villa, which is maybe the one game that I don't like to play in. But I mean, I have 16 game weeks with very good fixtures for these two goalkeepers to play together. If Schmeichel if the Leicester defense is struggling in the beginning of the season, maybe I just put Sanchez in and buy some other option for Schmeichel, or just leave him for a couple of matches and see how it goes. So this is the goalkeeper's choice. There were some other Schmeichel. 5 million for Schmeichel is very cheap, I think. There are some other options for 5 million. I saw Pickford. He actually interests me after this summer, but after the European Cup. But I just don't trust him okay, all right. Then the bench. I have, of course, 3 players on the bench, like everyone else. I have Ben White from Arsenal. I think Arsenal, they are buying a defender for 50 million. This is not a defender who is not going to play. They're always going to play a player they buy for 50 million. So, of course, you don't trust Arsenal's defense, but you can always play him in the first matches against Brentford. So he will be the first choice for me on the bench. Then I have Rafinha, number 2 on the bench, which surprised many, I think. But they are playing Manchester United in the first game, and I believe in Manchester United's defense this season. So I just don't want to play him in the first match, but I think I am gonna rotate him in the team for Gameweek 2. And then other player will go on the bench, but he is very good as well. So the third choice for me is Bissouma, who is a Brighton midfielder. He played for 3,112 minutes last season, so he almost played every match. And he is the cheapest choice for the midfielders. He's in 4.5 cost. So I have Robert Sanchez in goalkeeper's position on the bench. I have Ben White, Rafinha, and Bissouma. This is very good options if someone not play. Like, look at the first game week, Luke Shaw. They are talking about he has a small injury. Maybe he don't play the first game week or first 2. Then what are you gonna do? If you have the bench, if you have not playing players on the bench, no one will fill in that gap. So you have to have good players on the bench. I think it's very important this season as last season. That's the most important thing I did last season, was to have playing players on the bench. So yeah, I think I'm done for today. This was that I like to talk about. Of course, I could talk more about everything last season. I actually would like to share the team with you that I chose for this season. I'm one of the players who choose some players a month before and changed it 50 times. I think there are several more players out there or managers who do that. But I am very confident about my team this year. So I would like to share it with you. And if you subscribe this channel, then I will come back in a few days and talk about the rest of the team. Also, you can comment on this video if you want me to talk about anything specific from last season or for this season. So, thank you guys.